Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hemlock podcast. Pleasure to have you back. It's been a little while. I took a bit of a hiatus in January, just kind of refocusing and kind of thinking about where I wanted this podcast to go. I started the TikTok, which is where a lot of my time has been going. So that's at the Hemlock podcast on TikTok. I'm already banned for a week on TikTok because I've been critical of communism. I know. Same old. But that ends on the 19th. So I'll be back posting new stuff on TikTok very, very soon. Seeing a lot of really good growth, a lot of really good discussion on TikTok already. So gonna be spending a lot more time there. So go ahead and make sure you follow. We're going to be talking about the Freedom Convoy today. We have an interview with a lovely gentleman called Devon Thompson. I found him on Instagram, and he was talking about the Freedom Convoy. Had a lot of great thoughts, really clear thinker. And so I'm excited to show you that interview. It was going to be like 20 minutes, really brief. Ended up being almost an hour and 20 minutes because we just went off talking about everything from the Freedom Convoy to communism, capitalism, all that good stuff, all the stuff that seemed maybe a little more abstract a few years ago and are starting to become more and more prevalent and more necessary to talk about as those things have bigger and bigger impacts on our day-to-day lives as governments impose further and further stuff on our day-to-day lives. So that's what we're talking about. Super excited to get to that. So as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Whether you're watching or listening, it doesn't matter. But make sure you leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can do that as well. If you enjoy the podcast, consider helping us with the following. Memberships. HemlockPodcast.com/memberships. Memberships have a whole bunch of fun stuff. Ad-free episodes, exclusive content, mailbag questions. I want to start doing like a monthly Ask Me Anything. So it's going to be an episode entirely dedicated to your guys' questions. Whatever you want to talk about, I want to talk about. So even free merch with the yearly all access, the based water bottle. So because I'm a shameless grifter, apparently, is what leftists on Twitter keep calling me, because I'm trying to make money off of the thing I do with my life. So shame on me. So yeah, buy the merch. 5-star ratings everywhere. Got some sponsors today too, so go check out them. Good food as always. My wife is cooking some in the kitchen as we speak. It's like some bourbon pork chop burgers or something like that. Anyways, it smells delicious. So check that out. All the links are in the description. Without any further ado, let's jump in with Mr. Devon Thompson. This is a fun interview, and as always, let me know what you think. Enjoy. All right, Devon Thompson, thank you so much for joining me on the Hemlock podcast today. Appreciate you taking the time. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm a little tired because it's been a long day. You know, I've been on the road back and forth with the kids. But I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here with you tonight. And
awesome.
the idea of, talking about the Freedom Convoy is actually giving me some energy tonight.
Yeah, totally. Same. It's more energy than I've seen from Canada in a long time, and it's been really encouraging.
Yeah, so you're based in the U.S.?
No, I'm based out of I guess from the flag you can maybe guess that, but I'm over by Vancouver actually.
Oh, so you're in Vancouver? Okay.
That's right. Where are you located?
So I'm in Ontario.
Ontario, awesome, very cool. So you're a lot closer to the whole to the catalyst of this whole thing down in Ottawa.
So it's a 4.5 hour drive there. So for the first weekend, I drove to Ottawa. And I stayed for the night. So I was there for Saturday and I was there for Sunday. And the second weekend, I was in Toronto. And the third weekend, I drove the 4.5 hours there. Got there in the morning.
Good for you.
Well, technically the afternoon. And I drove 4.5 hours back home.
Right on. Holy smokes. Dedication.
Right? I decided I couldn't miss that one.
Yeah. No, dedication to the cause, man. Yeah, my wife and I have joined the ones. There was a couple that drove out to Vancouver. So my wife and I have joined those. And yeah, it's been honestly really cool to be a part of. Which is so funny, and it's funny how like you and I can have that conversation so easily, and we go like, yeah, it's a Freedom Convoy, it's great to be a part of, but there's been so much like nonsense and lies about this convoy in the media. So okay, I might get flack for this, but you're black, right? So from your perspective, is this a racist, white supremacist movement? Are we a bunch of Nazis? Like, what's going on here?
So first of all, when I first heard about the Freedom Convoy, and I started to look into the Freedom Convoy, I found their radio. It's called Zello, right? I went on Zello, and I was listening to who these people are. And let me tell you exactly what I heard. I heard children, I heard moms, I heard dads, I heard families on the Zilla radio station.
Right.
And the trucks were there blowing their horns for the kids. The kids were there saying, thank you for standing up for us. Thank you for fighting for our freedom. Can I get a honk, please? And then you hear the truckers go, honk, honk. So the people who are a part of the Freedom Convoy, the people who went to Ottawa, did not have race on their mind. They did not have white supremacy on their mind. The only thing that these people had on their mind was freedom. So when I went to Ottawa that weekend, race wasn't on my mind either. White supremacy wasn't on my mind. The only thing that was on my mind is going to Ottawa to fight for my fundamental human rights and freedoms. The people who brought race into this are the liberal far left individuals. They what do they call themselves? The anti-hate network, the Antifa.
Yeah.
Those people are the ones who brought race into it, using race as a weapon, as a political weapon against the individuals who came to the Freedom Convoy. I say this all the time. These guys are using my skin tone. They're using religion. They're using culture, ethnicity. They're using background. They're using these things as political capital to maintain power and to win elections. And this is the thing that I'm against, and this is the thing that I'm kind of dedicating myself to fighting right now. Because I did not give them permission to use my skin color as a weapon to demonize the Freedom Convoy. They do not have my permission.
Well said.
To do so.
Excellent. No, well said. Yeah, I was one of the points I've been making a lot is listen to the argument that they're not making, right? Because right now the question is, should the government have the ability to coerce or force people to get a vaccine, right? An mRNA injection. Should they have that ability? Yes or no? To make the argument, yes, the government should be able to force or coerce you to do things, is not a popular argument. So instead they pivot to race right away, right? And that tends to happen a lot.
The thing is, that argument doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense at all, because today you are in favor of this injection, right? I say injection not to get, as a matter of fact, I'm going to use the term chocolate because my viewers know what I mean when I say chocolate. So, right? So you like this chocolate today, and you're fine with going ahead and getting this chocolate. And you're even fine with the government forcing others to get this chocolate. But what about when a government that you don't like gets elected and now forces you to take a chocolate that you don't like? What are you going to do then? And it's the same argument for this emergency act that we have right now. These people, how blunt can I be on your program? Can I be super blunt?
Super blunt. As blunt as you want. Yeah, absolutely. Say whatever.
These idiots are supporting the government implementing an emergency act, literally stripping the fundamental human rights and freedoms of the Canadian people. And they're not thinking about the future repercussions of this. So so they claim that white supremacists and racists, they have this power structure there, right? So they didn't stop to ask themselves, what if these so-called racists or white supremacists end up becoming government? And then people of color or indigenous peoples, African Canadians, Persians, whoever they are, decide that they wanted to protest something that the government doesn't like. No, you set a precedent for that same government to implement that same emergency act to clamp down violently on these people. They're not thinking about these things. The only thing that they're thinking about is the fact that they now have some kind of manufactured power that's passed down to them from government that they can use now to oppress me in these times, and not thinking about the fact that they're going to be the ones that are going to be oppressed tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's playing the long-term game, right? People are not realizing that anything you allow your side to do can also be done to you when the other side gets in power, right?
Precisely.
And that's why I think it's so important, right? Why I think this Freedom Convoy is the righteous cause right now is because what are they fighting to do? They're fighting for maximal liberty, right? They're fighting for more freedoms. They're fighting for you to make. It's not even an anti-vaccine convoy, right? It's fighting for your choice. Yeah.
A lot. I can, without even any statistics, I can tell you safely that a majority of the people at the Freedom Convoy are fully vaxxed. They have all of their chocolates.
Yeah.
I can tell you that without seeing any statistics.
Absolutely.
The people on my live or the people in my inbox, majority of them have taken the chocolate. Right? Majority of them took the chocolate against their will. They were coerced into doing so because they were afraid of losing their jobs. They were afraid of the bullying, the stigmatization in society. They were afraid of the fact that their elderly parents live abroad, and if they don't get the chocolate, then they can't travel to take care of their elderly parents. Fathers were afraid that when their wife is or their spouse is giving birth, they won't be allowed in the hospital room. When a family member is dying or slowly dying, you won't be allowed to say goodbye to your family member that's passing away. That is why a lot of people took this injection.
Yeah, totally. I have such a huge heart for, like, my grandfather actually passed away February 28th or February 29th actually of 2020. So literally this is like 2 weeks before the world went on lockdown, right? And so I was able to travel and go see his funeral. And I can't imagine not being allowed to do that because the government said, look, you can't do that because you got to stay in your house, or you're not allowed to do that unless you have a vaccine card of some type, right? I live in BC, obviously, so we're one of the last provinces to not announce at all any kind of plan to end our vaccine cards. In fact, they just extended it till June a couple weeks ago. They added March and April reevaluation dates, but there's been almost no movement on our vaccine passport program in BC. I wanted to hear a little bit about your story. So how did you end up to be a conservative leaning person in 2022?
So here's the thing, and your viewers will be shocked by this. I'm not conservative.
You're not? Okay, that's okay. I assume that. That's fair. Yeah.
I'm not conservative.
Okay.
Neither am I liberal.
Okay.
I'm not left leaning. Neither am I right leaning.
Right.
So the best definition that you could find for me would probably be libertarian. That would probably be the best definition that you could find for me. Right? So my story with this started the moment that the government decided that they wanted to shut down the Great Barrington Declaration. So in summer of 2020, when the virus was out there and a pandemic, everybody is scared, right? Everybody was scared. If you tell me that you weren't scared, you're lying. Everybody was scared because they told us that this virus was out there and it's going to kill. At the time, I think they said like 10% of the population, some stuff like that, right? Yeah. So everybody was saying, okay, all right, let's do this thing. Let's put those masks on, even though at first they were flip-flopping on the mask. Let's put those masks on. Let's social distance. Let's stay home. It is a small sacrifice. Canadians actually came together to do that. But then this group of doctors started to speak, saying, there's a better way of doing this. We need to do focused protection. So when these doctors got shut down, they were surprised that they got shut down. They were censored. And then I started to question things like, something's not right. It just sounded like common sense to me. Focus your protection on the people who are more likely to be harmed, because by that time we already found out who is at risk. Persons who are elderly, who have underlying conditions. We knew from 2020, from summer 2020, that children were not at a serious risk. Of course, there are children who have underlying conditions, who might become seriously injured by the virus, or who might even pass away. Right? But we knew that younger folks, adolescents, children, teenagers who are generally healthy did not have to worry about this virus. Because I asked the question, in 2020, we had none of these injections. So somebody please explain to me how a majority of the damn population is still alive without having to have taken the injection in 2020. Somebody please explain that to me. So I was asking a lot of questions. So as you guys are aware, I'm originally from Jamaica. So so I was helping. I still am helping this political party in Jamaica to change things, because Jamaica is undergoing a serious level of corruption. We have some very dangerous politicians in power. You say the wrong thing or you do the wrong thing, these guys have the ability to just, make you go missing, right?
Right. Yikes.
So I've been working with that political party while I was here in Jamaica, to build up their movement, right? To actually become government and change things for the better. So COVID-19 came into the mix, and we all saw what was going on. So we put together a march, a protest in Jamaica in September of 2021. And that march was supposed to march to the Parliament building in Kingston. So I was in Canada, helping them coordinate all of this, right? So I was doing all of this from my desk, right here where I'm right now, right? Helping them to coordinate that march in Jamaica. It was successful, but the president of the political party was arrested by the government. The government literally arrested their political opponent, right?
Wow.
So all of that happened, and it led to only 22% of the Jamaican population eating the chocolate. So that's another thing. I want this government, Justin Trudeau, I want Jagmeet Singh, I want all of these public health professionals, tell me clearly right now, why is it that Jamaicans aren't dropping like flies? Explain to me, with 20% of the population eating that chocolate, why is it that Jamaicans aren't? South Africa, West African countries who have low injection rates, why is it that these people are still alive? Why am I still alive? I haven't eaten the chocolate. Right?
Yeah.
So why am I still alive? They can answer those questions. So so since all of this, trying to get the information out there, you're censored, you're called all kinds of names, they call you a conspiracy theorist. They tell you that you have a tinfoil hat. It got to the point where I had to now start proudly wearing my tinfoil hat to protect myself, right?
Yeah.
So I had to say, you know what, guys, I even went on Amazon to see if I could buy a tinfoil hat, because I thought that was the only way I could protect, to protect myself, because the harm, the rhetoric pointed towards us, it's really damaging. It damages your emotion, it damages your mental health. So you have to find ways to block that out. And me trying to find that tinfoil hat so I could wear it and say, you know what, your words are just words, they don't hurt. Right? So I tried that. So over time, I felt like I was getting more depressed and sad over time, because I started to feel alone, because my friends or family members, they didn't understand what I was saying. They were taking the side of this tyrannical leader, Justin Trudeau, taking the side of these tyrannical big pharmaceutical companies who have engaged in so many crimes in the past that I can't count. Right? So I felt alone. And then America happened. Some trucks from British Columbia decided that they wanted to drive across the country to go to Ottawa. And I'm saying, yes. Before I even knew who they were or what they were doing, I said, I'm in. Then,
I love it.
I went on, so the day before the convoy, I took up my phone, I went on social media, and I just told people how I felt. I just told it to them straight up and clear. And then people started following me on social media. I went to Ottawa the next day, and I decided to go live. I live stream, showed everybody what was going on. I was talking to people there. I was basically narrating, and people liked it. So I wasn't live streaming just for live streaming's sake. I was just live streaming because I knew that the media and the government was going to spin things. I didn't expect them to spin things to the direction they are right now, right? But I didn't expect them to spin things. So on Sunday, when I came home, I was called a white supremacist. I'm like,
wow.
I heard the word being thrown around. I'm a white supremacist, I'm a racist, I'm a misogynist, I have unacceptable views.
Crazy.
I shouldn't be tolerated. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I knew the mainstream media was going to twist things, but I didn't expect this. Because as I said earlier in the interview, race was the last thing on my mind, and I'm certain race was the last thing on the mind of the people who went to Freedom Convoy.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. I was astounded. And you've kind of seen that kind of things. I don't know if you're familiar with Larry Elder. He's a commentator down in the States, and I remember I think it was a Washington Post article 6 months to a year ago calling they said Larry Elder, who is a black man as well. Larry Elder is the new face of white supremacy, right? Larry Elder is the black face of white supremacy, and you see that kind of nonsense happening more and more often. And then with this Freedom Convoy, it's so ironic and funny to me that you have people who call themselves liberals, right? People who call themselves tolerance, and the diversity, equity, and inclusion types, right? Yeah. And in order to call this Freedom Convoy racist or white supremacist, it's like you have to, and there's rumors of like one or two of the organizers having some actually racist views and stuff. And of course we condemn that, right? But to take those few people, those few bad eggs in the Freedom Convoy, and demonize the whole thing as racist or white supremacist, you have to ignore every single indigenous person, every single person of color, every single minority group that was there. You're shutting down their voices to spread your political agenda, and it's just, we live in this clown world now where they can just do that with impunity, whether they're on Instagram or whether they're the media or whether they're politicians, and it's bizarre to me.
Listen. Right now at this point in time, this is something that I keep repeating. I repeat myself often with this. The people who are preventing me from leaving the country aren't white supremacists. And they aren't the racists. Right? The people who are infringing on our right to earn, they're not the white supremacists, and they're not the racists. The people who are preventing us from living a full life are not the white supremacists, and they are not the racists. The people who are doing this, actually, the people who are doing this might actually be white supremacists and racists. I don't know. I'm not throwing out any claims here. But the point of the matter is, the people who are doing it are the 338 members of parliament in the federal government, and then the members in the provincial government in Ontario. Those are the people who are doing it. And the reason why I say 338 is because the Conservative Party kept quiet for 2 years, only deciding to open their mouth when the Freedom Convoy got to Ottawa. They kept quiet for 2 years. They think that we're going to forget, but we're not going to forget. I am definitely not going to forget it. But I asked these anti-freedom protesters, you might have seen some videos of me doing that. I asked them this question: where were you? Where the hell were you for the past 2 years? All of a sudden, you guys decide to show up in the freezing cold, minus 17, minus 20 degrees temperature to protest against my right to be free. You must be joking. You must be kidding. I was pissed. I was mad. I was enraged when I saw them with this sign talking about they're fighting against Nazi. The next one talking about they're fighting against capitalists. The next one talking about they're fighting against supremacists. Where the hell were you? Even if the organizers of Freedom Convoy were white supremacists or racists, I feel more comfortable sitting at a table with them and sharing a meal than sitting at the same table with these people who came out and protested against my right to be free. It is better for me to know that you openly hate me. You know, you're racist or you're white supremacist. It's better for me to know that you openly hate me than to sit at a table with somebody who secretly hates me. Because for a year plus, these people have been wishing for me to die. They've been wishing for me to lose my child. They've been wishing for me to be segregated from society. Why on earth would I take myself and stand beside them? As a matter of fact, I asked one of these people, if I were to stop supporting the Freedom Convoy today and stop marching with the Freedom Convoy today, will you go out there and march with me? You know what the person said? The person said no, because she believes in vaccines.
Right.
I'm like, this is not about vaccines.
Exactly.
This is about the infringement of fundamental human rights and freedom. This is about me wanting to be sovereign over my body. This is about my bodily autonomy. This is about informed consent. If you want to take the injection, if you want to wear 15 masks, if you want to take 10 more injections, that is your problem. That sounds like a you problem. It's not a me problem.
Absolutely.
All I'm asking is to be left alone.
Yeah, well said. Well said. That's powerful stuff, Devon. Seriously, you're very well spoken and very eloquent. I love it. Because one of the things I think that I get drawn into this myself, right, is that we tend, and this is maybe intentional, maybe not, right, depending on how conspiratorial you might lean, but I think of course it's true that the people at the top benefit from us being divided. We keep getting drawn into divided by race or divided by class or divided by sexuality is a big one right now, right? All this kind of stuff. They're just we divide people up into all these different categories and then pit them against each other, right? Meanwhile, the 338 sit in Ottawa, right?
Just getting rich,
watching it all happen, and that's what I think is we're getting so caught up in these subsidiary fights. Without realizing that it's class warfare. It's the ruling by elite. The elite rule that we need to be concentrating our efforts on. And it's so funny to me that there's like the glorious workers' revolution, which is normally like a communist ideal, happened from the right, I would say. And maybe that's why I assumed you're conservative, because basically anybody these days who's fighting for more liberty and fighting for freedom, I would say leans to the right, just because how much the window is shifted, right? Yeah. You have liberals that used to be centrists that are now like further and further left. I think the whole thing shifted. So if you just sat like maybe center left, right? Now you're like center right because the whole thing just moved over. And I could be wrong on that, sure. But yeah, I think we live in a time where we have to stop allowing ourselves to be segregated into groups, to start thinking this is all about race, or this is all about sexuality, or this is all about any number of categories they want to throw us into, and start realizing that these people in Parliament, and if you go further to, I don't know if you have gone down like the World Economic Forum rabbit hole yet, but stuff like that is something that, again, that used to be a tinfoil hat thing, and then it's like, okay, well, Trudeau and Cynthia Freeland and John Horgan, the Premier of BC, and like you just find all these people that are all former WEF young leaders or whatever.
The conservatives have them too. I can't remember her name right now, but I think she's either in BC or Alberta, so they have them too. Right? A lot of people. So even recently, I was talking to somebody, and he doesn't think the Great Reset is real. He thinks it's all something that was made up. Right? So I told him that the World Economic Forum is literally the organization that's controlling the world.
Yeah. Even though you can go on Amazon right now and purchase the book called The Great Reset, written by Klaus Schwab.
Right?
But it doesn't exist.
Obvious, because if you go on the World Economics website, just look for the line that says that they direct the world's economy. Like they tell the World Banks, IMF, and all that, all those places what to do. Like how to create monetary policies and all that stuff. And the Great Reset is defined as the Great Reset of the world's economy. If somebody says that they are going to reset the world's economy, it must mean that they run the world.
Right.
It's just 1 + 1 = 2. It's simple.
It's one of two things, right? If their stated goal is to, I think Klaus Schwab, I heard him say directly, is we want to guide the fourth industrial revolution, right? And so to say something like that either makes you a lunatic because that's way too lofty of a goal, or you think it's plausible because maybe you do run the world. It's just like when people tell you who they are, believe them the first time, right?
And when I was reading about the fourth industrial revolution, listen, I was shocked when I first found out about these things. And I found out about these things in like early 2021. I was shocked. One of the things that shocked me the most with the fourth industrial revolution is when they said that you will not be able to determine the difference between your human body and technology. That is what they said. I was like, wait a minute. What are you guys trying to do here? And it leads me to this. everybody who is listening to this, you hear that the provinces are getting rid of these mandates, these QR codes. Do not trust them. Do not trust them, because I have a strong feeling that the only reason why they're getting rid of these QR codes is because the federal government is setting up its own federal QR code.
Right. This is like digital ID in a social credit system.
And I'm telling people, you see this QR code on your phone, you better delete it now. Because you see, the moment that you decide you want to donate to the person of color protest down there, you want to donate to the workers protest down there, you want to donate to the religious protest down there, and the government doesn't like it, they can just shut your QR code off. When they shut your QR code off, they shut off your life. Yeah. And that's what people need to get in their thick heads. Right? A lot of people, their heads are thick. Right? I'm not talking about the ones who don't understand. I'm talking about the ones who have been trying to explain this to for the past 2 years, but will not listen. But they just love government restrictions and love government mandates. Yeah, seriously. And that's been one of the most bizarre things in how many people. I saw someone tweet actually the other day. They're like, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for supporting the Hemlock podcast by listening to it. One of the other ways you can support us is by supporting our partners and affiliates. So this week we have Good Food. They are by far the favorite meal delivery service of my wife and I. You get casual, fine dining quality food showing up to your door week after week. It's delicious. For me, I hate like planning recipes and shopping for stuff, but I actually love cooking. So this takes out all the parts I don't like about cooking and just leaves the one I do, which is cooking the food with my wife. This week we have beef and shiitake burgers, creamy skillet lasagna with burst cherry tomatoes, and my personal favorite, herbe de Provence chicken and roasted vegetables with creamy chervil shallot vinaigrette. I'm so pumped for that one. Every week, delicious meals delivered right to your door. Get some good food in you, and save $40 on your first box of good food. Click the link in the description to get your discount. Cheers. Looking back at like World War II, going, oh, people are too smart for looking back at the propaganda of World War II, people would be too smart for that today, right? Yeah. People would never fall for that today. And then she goes, 2 years into COVID, I completely have 180 on that, because you look at how many people are susceptible to propaganda and how many people are pro-mandate and the govern me harder daddy mindset, right? Yeah. And I think even like when it comes to digital IDs and social credit systems and stuff, a lot of people think, people that talk about that, people like us, right, tinfoil hat types, conspiracy theorists, right? I'm willing at this point. It's like, I don't care, whatever you want to call me. Maybe we're out to lunch. Maybe we're totally wrong, and we've been spending too much time on the internet reading the wrong things, whatever. But I don't care anymore, because if that's going to happen, people need to be on guard. You can think I'm as crazy as you want to. But if I turn out to be right, if we turn out to be right, people need to be watching for it. People need to be on guard against this stuff, because if that happens, bye-bye freedom of any kind. You think vaccine mandates are a problem, wait till you can't get your bank account frozen like the government of Canada is doing today, freezing the bank accounts of donors who donated to the Convoy. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I thought that socialists would be more opposed to what's going on right now than capitalists. Right. Interesting. Because socialists are supposed to hate corporations, private corporations. Interesting. Yeah, totally. But now we see socialists propping up private corporations. Socialists are supporting a system that allows Jeff Bezos to become much, much richer, Elon Musk to become much, much richer, Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, J&J, Novavax, all of these companies to become... Doug Ford himself, his net worth moved from $3 million to $15 million. Socialists are supporting this, and I couldn't understand why. So it's not that capitalists are supporting it. I was just expecting more resistance from socialists to a system that's actually enriching a small minority. Right? Yeah. Patrick, are you still there? Yeah, still here. Oh, yeah, yeah, right. So it didn't make sense for me, right? Yeah. So what we have here So the Great Reset talks about something called stakeholder capitalism. The individuals who run the World Economic Forum, they say they want to put an end to communism, socialism, and what we now know as shareholder capitalism. That is what we practice, shareholder capitalism, where I own a business and I direct the operation of the business. The World Economic Forum wants to bring something in called stakeholder capitalism. And that's where corporations, government, and non-profit organization, and they claim, they want to make it sound nice, they claim people become a part of a system where they're the ones who are running the corporations. But in reality, how the World Economic Forum sets up the stakeholder capitalism system is that the government, along with WEF corporations, along with these non-profit groups, you know, those non-profit groups like the BLM and all those groups are coming together now to actually run countries and run the world. And that's what people aren't understanding. So I would expect that both communists and capitalists would come out in opposition of this plan to put the world's resources at the feet, in control of a small minority on the planet. And that's what we're going to. But for some strange reason that I cannot understand, people are okay with this.
You know, Devon, I think the way I'd answer that is I'm not surprised that socialists and communists are supporting it, simply because one of my biggest critiques of socialism and communism has always been that, sure, it sounds nice, right? It's like, oh, everything's owned by everybody. We own everything in a community, right? It's one big happy family, and we give to each according to their need, right? The problem is always with, and this happens every single time a socialist or communist government tries to set itself up or a revolution happens, right? Whether you're looking at China, whether you're looking at Russia, whether you're looking at Venezuela, even, right? Is that everyone joins the revolution, right? So you have right now communists propping this up, like you're saying, right? Because they think they're on that side. It's their side doing it, so they're gonna end up the victors. The problem is that a communist state still has to be administrated, right? It still has to be. Someone has to.
There's a ruling
take all
class.
Exactly. Someone has to gather all the wealth so that they can apparently redistribute it equitably, right? Which never happens. And so you end up having to go, oh, we have to take everyone's wealth, and we're just going to dole it out to each as everyone has need, right? They never do. They never do.
And socialists and communists try to tell us that that's not communism, right?
Right.
They're trying to tell us that it's actually, and this is where this stupid word of democratic socialism came up. Right?
Yeah.
They're trying to make it sound pretty. Democratic socialism makes no sense, right? So they say that we still have the democratic system, but corporations are run by the workers. That's stupid.
What does that even mean? Yeah.
I can't run a bank.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I can't run a bank, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't run a farm. Are you telling me that you're going to put me on a farm to run this? The whole economy is going to be a mess. Right?
Yeah.
And the same thing is democratic socialism technically is what we have right now.
Right.
We have democratic socialism right now.
Yeah, in Canada
because
especially.
We do not have a free market. Right? We have a system where the government literally plans the economy and literally has control over what businesses do and what they do not they don't do. Look at it right now. The government is telling banks to seize the accounts of Canadian citizens. That is not a free market economy.
No.
That is not capitalism. That, my friend, is an inch close to communism.
Absolutely. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So what we want in this country, a lot of people are afraid of free market capitalism. The reason why people are afraid is because there's a lot of responsibility in free market capitalism.
Yeah.
In socialism or communism or so-called democratic socialism, the government is responsible for you. Right? If you're hungry, the government takes a spoon and put it in your mouth and feeds you. Right? If you want to go to the bathroom, the government carries you to the bathroom, rubs your tummy, and tells you to release a load. Right? But when people are told that, hey, no, the government shouldn't be doing that for you. You should be doing that for yourself. People get scared. And I understand. It's a new frontier, right? People don't, they didn't get raised to take care of certain things in their life. They didn't get raised to learn how to build a business, how to save money, how to invest, how to make sure you don't go bankrupt, all of these stuff. So when somebody comes to them and say, hey, I am going to take government from you. I'm going to take all of these nice benefits that you enjoy. I am going to take healthcare from government. I'm going to take education from government. They're going to say, oh no, what am I going to do? Because I can't afford healthcare and I can't afford education. Not realizing that the reason why you can't afford education and healthcare is because the government has their fingers in it. There is no competition in the market.
Well said.
Look at it.
Yep.
Look at it. Right now, if we want to find a new doctor in Ontario, we can't because the doctors say they're full.
Yeah, it's the same in
full.
BC.
They have no reason to take more patients because they're not going to get paid a dime more. What is the point? Right? Totally. So you see, if you had a free market healthcare system, what you would have is more competition. And these doctors, Dr. A and Dr. B, would be fighting over me. And you know which doctor I'm going to? I'm going to the doctor with the best quality and the lowest cost.
Exactly.
And over time, you're going to have Dr. A, B, C, D, E, F, G fighting over me. Yeah. And that is how a free market system works. And it's the same for education. So I urge people, do not be afraid of free market capitalism. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Go back to school, read some books, learn how to invest, learn about cryptocurrency, learn about the metaverse, because the metaverse is coming. And the governments are already capitalizing on it. Right. They're buying land in the metaverse. China is buying land. My wife told me the other day that McDonald's is buying land in the metaverse.
No way.
Learn about these things, because if you sit back and allow these corporations or these governments to just take up all the metaverse and then come to you and tell you that, hey, don't worry about everything. I already have the metaverse under control. You just do what we tell you to do. Then you're going to end up back in the same. As a matter of fact, we're going to end up in a position that's worse than today, because the metaverse is a very serious thing. Right.
Yeah. Devon, that was so well said. I think too, and just to go back to your free market point, I think one of the reasons we're scared, especially with like healthcare, because we always talk about, it's so nice that we have free healthcare in Canada. We're so snobby about it all the time.
Our healthcare system isn't free.
Exactly. Someone's paying for it. It's just not the students protesting to keep it in place. But so like you look at the States, and that's what scares a lot of Canadians. But the States is not a pure free market capitalist healthcare system either, because they have a whole bunch of insurance problems and like Medicare and Medicaid, where the government does have their fingers in that, and that's driving up prices, all that kind of stuff, right? The way you described a free market is exactly right. And if we actually had pure free markets in both Canada and the US, you would see exactly what you said, exactly what you described, that would happen. Prices would go down, quality would go up, innovation would go up, right? That's one of the things in the States that they drive the innovation in the medical fields for the entire globe, practically, right?
Here's the thing, Patrick, and this is the thing that that's causing us problems in life. Most of us don't understand how money works or where money comes from. What we have right now is not money. The Canadian dollar, the American dollar, it's not money. It's fiat currency. It's a piece of paper. It has no value at all, right? It's not real money. The healthcare system in Ontario, for example, and education system in Ontario, it's not paid for by taxes. It's paid for by printing fiat currency. And then we now have to work to generate fiat currency to pay for that fiat currency. So you see, if in this education system they teach us how the existing banking system works, I think a lot more people would be more comfortable about freeing up the education system and the healthcare system. As you rightfully said, the United States does not have a free market healthcare system, because the government still dictates who gets to open a hospital. They dictate hospital funding. They dictate how much they charge. The U.S. government still has control over drugs, drug prescription. So they do not. as a matter of fact, the United States spends more money on their healthcare system than any country in the world, even more than Canada, right? So there's no such thing as a capitalist or a free market healthcare system in the United States.
Yeah, and one of the things I think people don't understand as well is that exactly like you said, a doctor doesn't have any benefit to take on new patients because they don't get paid more for it, right? So what that happens is that it creates a problem at the bottom where people don't have the incentive to become doctors anymore. Now you see we're having nurse and doctor shortages like crazy all over the nation because we don't have those incentive systems in place, right? And that's the same with everything. That's why you see in socialist and communist countries, what always happens is when the government starts confiscating everyone's wealth, right? The biggest producers in those economies don't work as hard. Why would I work if all my wealth is going to be confiscated? Why would I build a business? Why would I invest my money in things that the government's just going to seize it all anyways, right? And so what happens when all the biggest producers stop producing, there's nothing left for the leeches who were living off government subsidies the entire time, right? And so the whole society, everyone's equal, but we're all equally living in poverty. Well done. Like that's what we all wanted, right? So what were you gonna say? Sorry.
Yeah. So there's something that people need to understand, because, as I said, a lot of people aren't going to like this conversation in regards to capitalism and so on and so forth. So there's a thing called crony capitalism, and there's a thing called corporatism. So people tend to associate those two things with capitalism, even though all three are different things, right? So corporatism is literally where the government is basic. Actually, corporatism and crony capitalism is literally the same thing, quite literally, right? Government and corporations collude with each other to steal or tax dollars, right? Or to control the market, right? That's how you get government control, monopolies, and all that stuff. So that's not capitalism. That is bad. Corporate welfare is bad, right? So that's something that we have to deal with. That's something that we have to work on. How we do that is by changing the system of governance. The system of governance that we have right now allows corporations, allows the World Economic Forum, the IMF, World Bank, allows all of these unscrupulous persons to dictate society, right? It is allowing the government right now to force us or to coerce us to take something into our bodies that we do not want, while Pfizer, Moderna, and the other guys are profiting from it. That's something that we have to deal with. Canadians need to know, become more comfortable with the fact that we have to get government out of our lives and limit the role of government to protect the life, liberty, and the property of every citizen equally.
Now you're talking about limited government. Are you sure you're not a conservative there, Devon?
I told you, I'm more of a libertarian than a conservative. I don't agree with everything the conservatives do.
Sorry, when I use
what's that?
I was going to say, when I use the term conservative, I mean small c conservative. I'm not talking like the Conservative Party of Canada, because I'm not. Sorry. Actually, I'm more of a PPC. Actually, I had Maxime Bernier on a few months ago. Had a great conversation with him. But when I say conservative, I know in Canada it's tough because our party is called the Conservative Party. They're not Republicans or something, right? But I just mean conservative values. But
right, and technically the Liberal Party isn't liberal.
100%. Yeah, the illiberal party, if everything was true, for sure.
We just want to be free. We just want to be free to make our own decisions. And I think a lot of people are recognizing how dangerous it is for government to be involved in their lives, because the government controls the public healthcare system, so they tell you what to do with your body. They control the education system, so they tell you what to learn. They tell your kids that they have to wear a mask to school. Even private schools aren't spared from the tyrannical actions of the government. Right? So their control of all of these things are literally the reason why we're out there fighting. We're out there at the Freedom Convoy, freezing in minus 17 degrees Celsius temperature, asking for our rights.
Totally. Not well said. And you even look at you keep hearing from the very beginning that the cure can't be worse than the disease, right? And you look at the stats. I think in BC, like teen suicides are up 300% in British Columbia, right? And then you look at stats on alcohol abuse and drug abuse and so on and so forth, and they're all skyrocketing over the last couple of years because of lockdowns and passports and all these things that the government keeps imposing on people. And it's not even like we're asking for much. It's just like, hey, that injection that just came out like a year or two ago, just want to make my own choice. You know what I mean? Just don't want to be forced into that. Like it's not even a huge ask, to be honest. Like,
yeah, I'm writing letters to MPs right now because I'm listening to them in Parliament, even the Conservative MPs as well. I'm trying not to believe this, but I'm starting to believe that they don't understand what's going on. Every time these people get up to talk in Parliament, they talk about how I took the injection because I want to benefit society. I want to help my neighbors. You know, I want to not pass on the virus to them. But it's like they forgot or don't realize or somebody hasn't told them that this injection doesn't prevent transmission and it doesn't prevent infection. The reason why these mandates came out in the first place was because the governments and media lied and told people that these injections prevent the transmission and infection. So now that we know that they lied, why are we still keeping the mandate in place?
Yeah.
There is literally nothing between my body and the body of somebody who took the injection. There's no difference, right? I got COVID-19 and I recovered.
I have as well. Yeah.
My two sons, 2-year-old, 4-year-old, both got COVID-19. My wife, we all got it and we recovered from it. The only person that I know who got it and passed away was my elderly grandfather in 2021, right?
I'm sorry
he
to
had
hear that.
underlying conditions,
right?
Issues with liver and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
That I think that even if he did get the flu, he still would have passed away.
Yeah.
Right? It's because we know for a fact that the elderly are people with underlying conditions are those who are at risk.
Yeah.
I always ask the question to some of these professionals: what is the benefit to society and to me to take this injection? What is the benefit? They can't give me an answer because I already got COVID-19.
Yeah.
And I survived. I did not die. Right? So now I have what they call antibodies. If I didn't die the first time around, why am I going to die the second time around?
Right.
If I catch COVID-19.
Especially when the variants are getting more and more mild as time goes on.
Yeah, because over time, viruses are supposed to get weaker, right?
Exactly.
The evolution procedure is supposed to get weaker as time goes by. If I didn't die the first or the second time I got COVID-19, why do you think I'm going to die the third time?
Yeah.
Right? Within the same year or within the past 2 years.
Totally.
You can transmit just like me. There's no difference between us. So why are we still keeping these mandates?
Totally. They got worse, in fact. Yeah. They got worse. Like our vaccine card program in BC started in September, which is we had vaccines since what? I think like March last year they started rolling out, right? Yeah. Somewhere around that time. So why are we instituting more restrictions, right? After everyone's getting vaccinated. I think in BC only 9% of adults are unvaccinated at this point, right? Yeah. Which is bizarre to me that we're having this level of government restriction for something that doesn't warrant it anymore.
And here's the funny thing. Is okay? You have two injections. Is it Covaxin? Yeah, you have Covaxin, and you have the Novavax. I was looking at the Covaxin and the Novavax, and I was saying to myself, I'm a little more comfortable with those two injections over Astra, Pfizer, Moderna, and J&J. Yeah, I'm more comfortable with those because those seem to be developed in a way that's more traditional than the others.
Right.
Of course, Novavax wasn't available and Covaxin wasn't approved by the government.
Yeah.
So I said to myself that if push comes to shove, I'll take the Covaxin. But the government didn't approve Covaxin. As a matter of fact, they approved Covaxin only after they banned me from leaving the country. Right. Make it make sense. If you want me to get injected, right? And you know that my preferred injection, which you authorize, is outside of the country, why would you prevent me from leaving the country to get it?
Right.
And now
Bizarre.
Novavax has been approved.
Yeah.
And Theresa Tam is saying that now that it's approved, people who didn't like the mRNA can get this one. And I'm like, hell no. That train that train is gone. Like, you can't give me Panadol, Tylenol, you can't give me tea, you can't give me food. I am taking nothing from this government because I don't trust them. Their behavior over the past 2 years makes them untrustworthy. If they give me a bottle of water to drink, I am not drinking it. They can keep it. So hell no. Keep your Novavax. I don't want it.
Yeah, seriously. And it's just interesting as time goes on, the case becomes stronger and stronger to just refuse any type of medical treatment that's being pushed by a coercive government. Because you look at, like in BC, the proportion of unvaccinated people and vaccinated people in the hospital for COVID is almost identical, right? So I think our unvaccinated rate is about 10% of our province is still unvaccinated, and it's about, I think, 25-30% in the hospital are unvaccinated. So as that approaches the same proportions, there's literally no difference in how much hospital and how many hospitalizations are shared by the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. So you can't make the case that you're a danger to society anymore. What's that?
Here's what pisses me off. When they come on the media and say that the unvaccinated as a 80%, in comparison with the vaccinated, has an 80% chance of ending up in the hospital and dying. That pisses me off, because they're basically telling me that I have an 80% chance of dying over the vaccinated. And that's a lie. That's a plain lie, because what they do is they take all of these people, put them into one ball, average it, and throw a number out. Why don't you average people between the ages of 0 to 40 and tell me what the number is then? I'm certain it's not 80%. As a matter of fact, I probably have a 0.0001 something chance of ending up in the hospital or dying from COVID-19. So when they tell me that I have an 80% chance of dying, or I'm playing Russian roulette, you can kiss my ass, because you're talking rubbish, you're talking garbage, and you're using that narrative to continue the infringement of my fundamental human rights and freedoms.
Yeah. One of the most astounding things I've been saying throughout the whole pandemic is the median age of this disease is 82. The median age is 82 years old, right? Yeah. And you're absolutely right. You take like a 0 to 40 tranche, and the numbers are insanely low for getting COVID. And this thing is, they say the unvaccinated, you have such and such more of a risk of getting it. What about if you already had it, right? You have, because natural immunity is nowhere in the discussion when it comes to vaccine passports or anything like that, or being fired from your job. We just let go a bunch of nurses in BC, and Bonnie Henry just expanded that to include like things like chiropractors, like individual practices and stuff like that, right? With no discussion of natural immunity or anything like that. So I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where it's just like they make so little sense that it becomes more and more plausible that it is pointing towards something like a great reset, or like just an economic reset that consolidates more and more power in the hands of the elite ruling classes, and I think we need to be more aware of that. Yeah, Devon, I super appreciate the time you've taken today. Do you have any closing thoughts or final thoughts today?
My final thoughts today, and this has to do with the narrative surrounding. I think people are saying that they can't hear. 1 sec.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so...
I actually just realized I had one more question for you. So
okay, ask the question and then go.
Sure. Okay. We'll cut that part out. Is actually, I wanted to ask you, how do you foresee? Because actually, the reason I got in touch with you is because I thought you had some great theories about what the Conservative Party was doing in response to this whole trucker convoy. Where do you see this going? Like, how does this end? Because you see police cracking down on this more and more. Now there's a state of emergency, and now they're freezing bank accounts and all this kind of corrupt stuff that the Trudeau government is imposing. How does this end? Like, do you see a good end to this?
To be honest, I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know what is going to happen. I know for a fact that so the Canadian Constitution Foundation, they're going to be launching a lawsuit against the government for what they're doing. So if the Parliament doesn't put an end to it, then that lawsuit's going to go out. But these lawsuits sometimes tend to go nowhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Or they take forever.
I really don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. This is unprecedented. It's never happened before in the history of Canada. It's never happened in the history of the Western world, actually. It's happened in China. Maybe we need to go to China to find out how they deal with it. To maybe get some opinions from them. Right.
Yeah.
But I really don't know what's going to happen. Right. Because they're shutting down bank accounts of regular Canadians who need to pay their mortgages and to pay their car loans and so on and so forth.
How close do we get to, you said, like you mentioned in Jamaica, they have officials throwing political prisoners in jail, or political opponents in jail. And now you started, Chris Barber, actually one of the organizers, was arrested today in Ottawa. Do you see comparisons between like places like Jamaica and now what is becoming the Canadian government?
Yeah. So what's happening in Jamaica and here is very similar. The only difference is that in Jamaica, only 20% of the Jamaican people have taken the injection. And here, we know that over 90% have taken it. So, and listen to this, the Prime Minister and the Health Minister in Jamaica have often come out and said that it's time to treat the unvaccinated different from the vaccinated. Wow. When only 20% of the population are vaccinated. So they got 80% of the population pissed off.
Crazy.
Right? So it just goes to show you that none of this makes sense. Even with 20% vaccinated, they're pushing vaccine mandates.
That is not smart.
It's stupid, right? And it's made the people even more hesitant.
Right. Yeah, seriously. And that's kind of the crazy thing too, is this rule by elites is so incompetent, because if they were good at their jobs, they wouldn't have like bred so much mistrust of the government, right? Yeah. If they were good at this, they would have just gone, hey, look, this is like a scary virus, and they would have used the truth to do that. And hey, you should get vaccinated for your own good and for your family's good, and more people would have done it. Actually, that's why BC has one of the best vaccination rates, is because Bonnie Henry was actually really mild. She didn't do a bunch of lockdowns right off the bat, so a lot of people just went and willingly got it because we trusted her to start, right?
I don't even think these guys know how to be good dictators or
yeah.
I don't think they know how to do it, because the good dictators of the past, when I say good, I mean the ones who are really good at it. They
an
know
effective dictator, not a good.
They know how to manipulate people, and they're very good at it. So these guys are good at it too. It's just that they're only good at manipulating very weak minds, right?
Yeah.
They can't manipulate half of the population.
Right.
But they're not doing a good job. Like, you guys are dictators. You guys, we know that the World Economic Forum is funding you and they're giving you directions. But at least be good at it.
Yeah, seriously.
Right? Like I feel so bad that we're letting people who don't even know how to be good dictators.
Do better, dictators. Yeah. Dictate better, please. Yeah. Actually, I put out a theory on Twitter yesterday, where I generally think all politicians are incompetent. I start with that assumption because I think it takes a base level of incompetence to think that you're more competent than everyone else in the world, right? Or that you're smarter than the populace and you have a better idea of how to run people's lives than they do. It takes a base level of incompetence. And so I think that you're only a good leader to the extent that you surround yourself with competence and you respect the competence and independence of your constituency, right? Because to just assume that, and this is Trudeau's, I think, Achilles heel, is that he thinks he's hot crap, right? He thinks he's God's gift to humanity. 100%. He thinks he's God's gift to humanity, and you can tell in just like in the pretentious, like snobby way he conducts himself in the House of Commons. Like he's just a sleazeball, and you can see it in the way he conducts himself because he thinks he's smarter than the entire country, and that ends up being their downfall because he's losing the country, right? People are more and more pissed at him. Even his own base is pissed at him because he's incompetent, right? But anyways. Okay, so let's get to final thoughts then, Devon.
Okay.
I super appreciate you coming on and spending your time here, but let's get to final thoughts.
So here's my final thoughts. Canadians are some of the nicest people on this planet, in my opinion. Some of the nicest people, warm and loving. For the past 2 years, however, I've watched them turn into monsters.
Wow.
Wishing death upon their fellow countrymen and women, wishing for their children to be taken away, wishing for them to lose their jobs, for them to lose their civil liberties. So I am talking to these individuals right now. We are human beings. I did not take the injection, right? I made a different medical decision than you, but that does not mean I now become inhuman. It doesn't mean that you get to take away my fundamental human rights and freedoms. I have historical experience with that because, as you are aware, I'm an African descendant of Jamaican slaves, African Jamaican, right? And my ancestors went through a process of 400 plus years process of losing their bodily autonomy, losing their freedoms. I heard Joe Biden say recently that we should put our freedoms aside and go get the injection. When he said that, it sounded to me like we should put our freedoms aside and go pick cotton. That's what I heard when he said that. So I'm asking you guys to please think about how your rhetoric is damaging the mental health of your fellow countrymen and women. Think about if a racist or a white supremacist went up to a black person and told them that they wanted to put a rope around their necks and hang them. That is how we feel. And I'm not talking about we as black people, we as Canadians, white, Persian, Arab, Indian, Asian. That is how we feel when you come to us and you tell us that we should die, we deserve to die because we made a different medical decision than you. So I'm asking that you just try and think about how that affects us and try to understand why we made the decision that we made. And that's it.
Devon, I could not ask for a better ending than that. That was excellent. Devon Thompson, I super appreciate you taking the time to join us on the Hemlock podcast today. You are a clear thinker and a powerful speaker, and more people should listen to you. So, do you want to plug your Instagram website, anything like that?
Oh, yeah. So my Instagram is True Devon Thompson. So TRUE. So you see my name in the corner right there, True Devon Thompson. And the website. So I'm going to buy a domain today. The website right now is the ruleofliberty.nationbuilder.com. So that's the ruleofliberty.nationbuilder.com. I'm going to buy the domain. It's going to be the ruleofliberty.com. The reason why I haven't bought the domain as yet is because I have a strong feeling that the government is blocking cryptocurrency, and I wanted to purchase the domain with cryptocurrency because I'm trying to wean myself off the banking system. So I'm trying to move over to cryptocurrency. So that's why I haven't bought a domain. Hey, guys, do not go and buy that domain right now and try to sell it to me. Listen, forget that you heard that.
Yeah, you better snatch it up quick. Snatch it up quick.
I just made a mistake. I'm gonna run go buy that thing with my credit card.
Yeah, exactly. Sign off quick. You gotta go buy it. Okay. Yeah, Devon, you got stuff to do, my man. So I appreciate it again. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
Take care. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this week's Hemlock podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends and family. Tell them to subscribe, because if you loved it, then they're going to love it too, obviously. Also, head on over to iTunes to leave us a 5-star rating and review. That helps us a lot with the charts. And if you're not going to leave us 5 stars, then forget about it. Don't worry about it and enjoy the rest of your day. Lastly, head on over to the hemlockpodcast.locals.com to become a supporter and receive access to exclusive content and ad-free versions of the Hemlock podcast. Love you so much for listening. Let's continue to ride out this increasingly insane world with irreverence and joy. This is your host, Patrick Jolliker, and much love, y'all. Peace.